entrance of a child into the world and into a home appears to be two different things. The natural order for a child to appear in the world is for a conception to occur, which begins with either copulation between a man and a woman, or with the latest technology of planting a man's seed in a woman in a process called in vitro fertilization. However, to have a child come into a home may require the above or not, as there are many roads of opportunities and possibilities today, some of which are surrogacy or even child adoption. What could make someone consider surrogacy, child adoption, or even IVF in the first place? We visited Dr. Brown Aomunde, consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, fertility specialist and minimal access surgeon, to ascertain that infertility is an issue at all in our society.
60% of gynecological consultation is for infertility. And again, most of our women may not just come right out to tell you that almost 10 to 30% of couples have that problem. And for a population of about 200 million, those are millions of women who need to see their doctors for this treatment. So the burden of infertility is actually enormous out there, affecting millions of women in Nigeria.
Interesting though, how the problem of infertility seemed to be a woman's problem. To have and to hold a child, how did infertility or fertility become a woman's problem?
Most of the women you're going to see, most of the consultations you're going to see as a gynecologist is going to deal with, or is going to have, is going to actually be for infertility, or through your gynecology practice, and all manner of treatments and all of that. So a whole lot of our women out there will see their doctor because of infertility in their lifetime. In fact, like I said, almost 10 to 30% of couples have that problem. And for a population of about 200 million, those are millions of women who need to see their doctors.
Are all women able to conceive even with all of the help science proffers, one of which is IVF?
Over time, for example, there has been explosion in gynecological treatment for infertility, ranging from assisted reproductive techniques to minimal access surgeries, especially tubal surgeries and all of that, which has actually opened a fresh vista in the management of infertility in our environment. However, it must be said that between 2 to 7% of women generally are going to be childless at the end of their reproductive career. And for such women, there's no need to give up hope. There's still hope, and I keep telling them, we're looking at issues of adoption, for example, which is also a very legal way of having a child, and there is really no need to worry if the proper protocols and guidelines are followed for adoption. And I think, however, that approach is actually still very rudimentary in Nigeria, and not generally accepted for some reasons, and basically, like, infertility is increasing in Nigeria, probably due to women not really choosing to have babies on time due to education, career, and all of that. And we see that women choosing to have babies, the later a woman chooses to have a baby, the more the risk of infertility later, because the single most important factor in female infertility is age. So at the end of the day, when you start trying to have a baby late, there's a possibility that it's not going to work. And at the end of the day, you have to fall back to something. So in order to just give up like, oh, I don't have a baby. And if you are passionate about having a baby, then there are other ways to do it. And which adoption is a major factor. Of course, talk about surrogacy and all of that too, but adoption comes across as a very cheap and easy way of having a baby.
Infertility is often defined as not conceiving after 12 months of regular sexual intercourse without the use of birth control. With 3 to 4 million couples estimated to be infertile in Nigeria, child adoption presents a unique option to couples or individuals seeking to have children. We paid a visit to the Child Adoption and Fostering Unit in Lagos State, where we spoke to Mrs. Agnes Olaore, the Director of Social Welfare at the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. For starters, we get to know what are the processes of child adoption.
The first thing to do in the process of adoption in Lagos State is to submit an application letter to the Ministry of Youth and Social Development that oversees the process of adoption in Lagos State. The letter should be written and addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Social Development. After we receive your application letter, then we get across to you through your phone number that is written on the formal application letter to let you know when we are ready to process the application. Okay, when we receive the application letter, we invite you to come to the office to do what we interview you to, and also take you through the process of counseling. Usually, there is a program we call pre-counseling session. We give an invitation. We invite all the will-be, adopters or the prospective adopters. We invite. Sometimes we can invite as many as 100, as many as 200, depending on the time we are working on. Usually we do that on a quarterly basis in the office. So we invite all the people that have written their application letter to come for what we call adoption pre-counseling session. During that time, we allow them to ask questions. We also run them through the process of adoption. We let them know what adoption is all about. Then we also have some people that have adopted, from the ministry. We invite them to give their testimony, to run them through the challenges they encounter, how they overcame those challenges. We also invite a medical personnel that will run them through some medical challenges they can have with adopted children and how to overcome such. We also, invite a director in charge of legal matters in the ministry, who will also run the prospective adopters through, the legal implications of adoption. After running them through a period of pre-counseling to let them know what adoption is all about, there are many people that will be well guided and they will make up their mind to continue with the process. Thereafter, we let them know the requirements, all the documents they need to bring to the office. Then we also give them the registration forms to fill. All that we put we open a file and put all the documents in their file. We call that documentation. So after the documentation, well, maybe I'll later run you through the documentations, all the documents that need to be provided. We also give them a referral letter to a general hospital. We allow them go through a process of medical test, whereby at the end of running them through the medical test, they will give them a medical certificate of fitness. They must be fit. The prospective adopters must be found medically fit, medically suitable to adopt. That is very, very important. So we give them referral letters to go to any of the general hospital that we make use of. When they get there and say they see the letter from us, they would conduct all the tests that are necessary. We look out for we don't just look out for the physical fitness, we also look out for the emotional fitness. They must be fit mentally, they must be fit emotionally to handle the process of adoption in Lagos State. When they bring in their medical certificate of fitness, we put everything together and we do what we call home assessment. We assess their homes. We want to know how suitable their homes are for the process of child upbringing and child development. After going through their homes, we take pictures, put everything in the file. If that is satisfactory to us, then we go to the next stage. The next stage is to make payment of administrative fee to the Lagos State government. The administrative fee for local adoption is 80,000 naira. After they have done that, then we prepare them to attend a adoption panel interview. If the prospective adopters are successful at the panel interview, we issue them a letter called approval letter for adoption in Lagos State. By the time we give them this letter, we also let them know all the orphanages that are registered with the Lagos State government. So we give them a list. As we are giving them the approval letter, we also give them a list of all the registered orphanages with the Lagos State government. Presently, we have about 50 orphanages that have been registered with the Lagos State government. Those are the orphanages they can go to source for a child of their choice. So when they source for a child in any of these orphanages, the orphanages will let us know that, okay, they have agreed to give Mr. and Mrs. A and B, a child. They will send the file of the child to us in the office, the medical history of the child, the story surrounding the abandonment of the child, then the court dates, the court that the child, the child's case has been registered. There are some of our family courts, they may want to know, the prospective adopter. They will ask them to come to court so that they will also, ask them some questions before the care order of a child is discharged. So when the care order of a child is discharged, that is the instance that the child will be released to the prospective adopter. By the time the child is released to them, it is only for a period of between 1 month and 3 months, and we call that period the bonding period. The child stays with the will-be parents for that period, and during that period, some of our officers will also visit them to see how they are coping, to see how the child is faring in the care of the prospective adopters. So we do what we call bonding assessment. If the bonding assessment is satisfactory to us, then we go to the final stage of the adoption process, which is called legalization. Legalization of adoption is done in the family court, in the chamber of the magistrate, and that is where the prospective adopters are now pronounced as the legal parents of the child. So the child now becomes theirs, and the parents now become the parents of the child. The child now, we have new names. We now begin to bear the names of the parents, and that is where an adoption order will be given. So once the adoption order is given, that means the process of adoption is conclusive.
Do you even wonder if a single person can adopt a child?
Single person can adopt, and for the process of adoption in Lagos State, we are guided by the law, and we have the Child's Rights Law of Lagos State, which came into force in year 2007. It was later reviewed in 2015, and that is what we are still using up to date. So we have in section 119 of the Child Rights Law of Lagos State 2015 as amended, stating that married couple can adopt. Then a single person who is 35 years old can also adopt. Either you are a male or you are a female. As a single person, you can adopt.
Thank you. Also, we went to check in on an orphanage in Lagos State, Heritage Homes Orphanage.
That's when you come in here and tell us you want to adopt, we enlighten you about how to go about it. And the first thing is for you to go to the ministry. We can counsel you depending on where you're coming from. If you're so down, so depressed, and you think, an end has come to life and things like that without a child, then we counsel you. We let you know that there is alternative way of parenting. And then we introduce you to adoption or fostering or guardianship and so on and so forth. But because all orphanages are being guided by the ministry, the laws of the state where they're located. For instance, we can't say we are giving out a child without the child being, the adoption being backed up by the Ministry of Youth and Local Social Development. So it starts with them. So the adopter will have to go through them, then do an application to them, to the permanent secretary. After that application, the application will be responded to. When she gets a response, they will invite her. They have what you call pre-counseling, where they tell you about it and let you know more about what you want to go into, so that at the end of the day, you don't go into post-adoption depression and things like that. Because some people do go into post-adoption depression. Some people is like, oh, why do I have this child is giving me issues and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, some such people need to be enlightened, because biologically you could have your child and that child will give you stress or give you some issues that you need to look very well into it and see where the problem is coming from, and then you attend to it and you are good to go. First thing is to do an application to the permanent secretary. After the application, then with them you have to pay certain amount of money to them. I think that's for their documentation and the processes and so on and so forth, because they do home visits and so on and so forth. I recall a story of a child that we went to visit. We don't, parents, like I told you, we are families, so they invite us, come celebrate with us and so on and so forth. And the child was so happy. She was so happy. We went in, he took us around the house, told us all these things belongs to me and only me. I'm not sharing with anybody. And I look at that as, this child, if anybody says he's adopted, it doesn't mean anything to him. It doesn't make him different from any other child. He's happy in his home. And this family I'm talking about later, they had a child of their own biological child, and that was years. They adopted after the marriage was about 15 years or so. And they later had biological child, and they were telling us they didn't even prepare they don't know the room, but maybe that child will be sharing with our son because he's still the first. And the child, they both run around together, they're happy. So far, we've done over 51 adoptions. Yes, so we've done a number of adoptions, because we would actually like to go by the rule of law and ensure that everything is done perfectly. So we will not give out a child an adoption until we're sure that everything has been perfected with the ministry, perfected from our end, such that the adopter will have a good story and a good sale home. So far we've done over 51 adoptions.
Wait, what if a child has special needs? Are they also worthy of being adopted?
Here we had somebody adopted an HIV baby, and that was even in the heat of HIV when people would run away from HIV. But this case was very well celebrated because they actually said they wanted an HIV baby. They wanted to help, they wanted to support, they would like to give love and care to such a child. They even have a biological child, and today the biological child and their child, they are very good friends. You can't even tell the difference. Although it was a Caucasian family, so I would say special needs children, our people are not too well favorably disposed to taking special needs children. But you have, like I said, among the very few, that is that 5%, you still have people who would take special needs children and love them. Some have biological special needs child. They have Yes, biological special needs child, and they're like, wow. So if we can leave, some left their jobs because of that, and try to, instead of hiding the child, keeping the child away from other people, being ashamed of the child, they stopped even secular jobs and devoted time to this child. And in such parents, some of them actually say they don't mind, especially if the challenge is not too much, they will raise them together. They have gotten to a certain level for them to know that even if you are you have a special need child, is not something that is to be ashamed of. So, but you have a lot of people that are foreigners doing international adoption that have been doing adoption of special needs children.
Having said all, stigmatization appears to be one of the reasons couples or individuals who desire the joy of children have often not considered child adoption.
In those days, people would put cloth in their belly, tummy, cover it up and pretend. But when they we tell them, you don't have to do that. You don't need to pretend. You don't have to do that. Let them love you with your adopted child. And let your adopted child know that he or she is adopted. So the stigma will not be there again.
When the adoption order is being issued at the family court, part of what the order will say is that an adopted child will have to be monitored, supervised until age 18. So we do that. We monitor our adopted children till age 18. We have a unit, apart from the adoption unit, we also have a unit that we call the Human Integration Unit. It's like they offer aftercare services. Like adopted children, we give them list of adoption that have been concluded. So once in a while, they call them. They also visit. They don't just visit and and begin to disturb them. But once in a while, adoptive parents are actually supposed to provide us with the progress reports of these children almost every year. We have some parents, they don't fail. Every year they bring their school reports, they bring in pictures that we still put in the file. And that helps us to know that the children are doing well. But there are some parents that, they don't come up with these progress reports. The aftercare service handles that. They monitor these children, they visit them at home. Well, they visit not to let the children know that they are adopted. They visit as friends of the family. And for as many of them that have issues, we see them coming in here, for counseling. So we still provide the psychosocial support for them.
The thing is that the society should learn to accommodate, should learn to be tolerant, as not everyone can have their own biological children, but we can love other children as our own, because it is the person that actually raises a child that the child knows and calls father or mother.
So, to open your heart and home to receive a child for adequate care, support, and love is what I'll consider a gift. In fact, one that keeps giving. Let's end the stigmatization today.